welcome to this interview series called Your Soul's Secrets Revealed. And today I'm speaking with Kari Samuels. Kari is an intuitive counselor, happiness coach, and numerologist. It is her passion to assist others in attaining joy in their lives by reminding them how to love themselves. Since intuition is our birthright, it is her mission to assist others in reclaiming their natural spiritual gifts. Kari has taught hundreds of people around the world how to access their innate intuitive abilities, and she continues to do so through her radio shows, teleseminars, and inspiring YouTube videos. With a penchant for making the mystical mainstream, she's known to fuse entertainment with enlightenment, wit and wisdom, and psychic with sassy. I love that. It is her joy to help others manifest their divine potential. Welcome, Kari Samuels.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking about one of my favorite topics. So thank you.
Oh, great. And I know that you have got a big trunk full of fabulous stories that we're all wanting to hear about. And before the call, you mentioned that you have some stories about past lives and how they connect in with our lives in this lifetime. Do you want to talk about some of those?
Well, before I jump into what those stories are, or I want to explain how I get to that, how I come to have these past life histories revealed. So, you're explaining what I do. I'm a numerologist and a happiness coach and an intuitive counselor. So one of the things that I've been doing that I discovered was that I can use numerology to tap into people's past lives, which is interesting to me.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Neither have I. So I don't know anybody else who's doing it, but it's something that my guides led me to through the study of numerology. I've always been doing well, not always, but as a professional for almost 2 decades now, I've been doing psychic readings, and about, 13 years ago, I started using numerology to help tune into the clients, and then it kind of took over my life because I realized how accurate it was to understanding people's life purpose. And so
I'm on the edge of my seat right now. I'm really excited to hear about this.
Well, and so I started getting really involved in numerology because at first I thought, well, this will just help me kind of, when I first started, I was nervous because I was psychic before I understood how it all worked, right? So it's like all of a sudden people were coming to me as clients before I thought I was ready, right? It's just people started calling me. So I used to get a little nervous, and so I was like, well, let me find something to start with. So I got this book on numerology, and I was like, this is interesting. So I started talking about it, and then it became its own thing. I was like, what? This is so accurate. How is this possible? That just knowing their birth date, and at the time I was just doing their life path number, just their birth date, and I pretty much only did that for years just to study it. And through knowing just their birth date, you can really discover so much about a person's inclinations. And then, you get into the whole chart, and it's really like an astrological chart. Numerology and astrology work really well together. People use both to do forecasts, which is one thing that I do in terms of what to expect energetically. But how I use it with clients and to teach people is you can look at your birth chart and your numerology based on your name and your birth date, and you can look at your karma, basically. So you can pretty much see what your past lives are. Even in a birth chart, you can use the south node of the moon to understand what your past life incarnational history is, and then the north node to see what your soul chose, and really it's all revealed in an astrological chart, like your relationship to your parents and other people, and in numerology, one thing I've discovered is that the karmic numbers, have been traditionally called karmic debt numbers in numerology, are actually past life traumas that are kind of sticking around with people. And as an energy healer, that's one of the things I help people with, because when I see one of these, what other people have called karmic debt numbers, when I see something like that in a person's chart, I know that that person has a trauma that has not been healed from their past lives, and then I just go into that with my guides, and they usually give me some insight about it. So that's the background on what I do and how it all fits together. It's kind of funny because when people, it's hard to describe what I do. It's like, what are you? Are you an energy healer? Are you a numerologist? Are you a psychic? Happiness coach? I started calling myself a happiness coach because nobody knew what I was talking about when I was like, well, I'm a soul contract specialist who specializes in your pre-birth agreements and help you heal your karma. I mean, what is that? I don't know. So basically when you do that, when you clear your karmic patterns and you align yourself with your soul's purpose, then you become very happy. So wow. I'm a happiness coach.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Well, your guides must be just hooked in so crystal clear for you, for them to guide you to give us these teachings.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty grateful for my guides. I think everybody's guides are pretty hooked in. It's just that we're not trained to listen to it. So I'm lucky in the fact that I finally learned how to acknowledge and express my intuition, which is part of why I'm so passionate about teaching it, because it's a gift, but it can feel like a curse until you know what to do with it. And I think most people are kind of walking around having intuitions and not knowing it, and it's making them neurotic, and, it's unfortunate we don't have this training. Basically, anywhere you have a challenge, you have that much potential for happiness. So, and the way I see karma is pretty much an emotional charge. So you can be totally liberated from that emotional charge. So, it's like an EFT, right? You have a trauma, and then you tap and tap and tap, and then it doesn't feel like yours anymore. Mm-hmm. And then you have liberation. That's why they call it freedom. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So,
like that.
So you pretty much just liberate yourself from the emotional charge, and it becomes a gift at that point. Mm-hmm. Because the lessons have been learned and integrated, and it's something that's now you can either help people. We don't go through things just randomly. We usually do it so that we can evolve as a soul and then ultimately help other people with whatever we've learned. Is pretty much how I see it working. Mm-hmm. The wounded healer type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you heal yourself of that emotional charge, then you're clearing the karma, because you're no longer having that negative charge that's attracting the same situations over and over again. You don't have that fear, and then that clears the karma. I don't really. That's why I don't really call it karmic debt so much. Like, it's pretty much you have an imbalance in your consciousness, which becomes a subconscious pattern that's got a strong negative charge, and I use the word negative for lack of better word. It's just not joyful, right? So yeah.
What would be an outcome for one of your clients after they've had, a session with you where there's been a clearing, and what would that look like?
Now, by the way, when you say client, this is something I teach people as well. This is why I was saying I do teleclasses and videos and interviews like this to teach people, you don't need to have a personal session necessarily, because I do a lot of group clearings with people through courses and things. So, and when you bring your consciousness to something, it can clear the karmic pattern. Basically, our karmic patterns are stuck in our subconscious, and so when we bring the light of consciousness to them, they're no longer stuck in our subconscious, making us attract situations to ourselves. So afterwards, so basically, once you're aware of, oh wow, I have a negative charge to this. Let me bring my mindfulness to this, so that I no longer am creating a lower vibration for myself. So just bringing mindfulness to something can help clear a pattern. I do assist people with that, obviously, with through sessions, private sessions, and with classes and teleseminars and things like that. But and what I do a lot is work with the guides that can help clear this energy for you and break your soul contracts for you. A lot of this karma can come from soul contracts that we have from previous lives. Like a lot of us have had past lives as religious figures. And so we have vows of poverty, vows of chastity, vows of abstinence, self-abnegation, a whole bunch of things that come with that. And that can still be working on you. So I help people clear a lot of that as well, because those are really, especially spiritual people, you've most likely been a spiritual person in a previous life, which means you were probably a monk or a nun or a priest or a rabbi or something, where you took some vows that may still be working on you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yes, it does. So when I do my soul salon classes, my teleclasses that I do, where we do these monthly lessons and clearings, I just get the most amazing feedback back. I mean, people are just emotionally just purging so much energy because really
they
very
get validated.
Common thing. It's not just validation. I mean, something touches your soul that says, wow, this makes sense. This is why I feel this guilt. This is why I feel so separate. This is why I've had so much trouble taking money. This is why I feel so ashamed. Or, there's just certain things that are common with our past lives that we're not aware of, and then when you bring them to the light of consciousness, it just opens up something for healing.
Yes.
And it really touches people because we're walking around with this stuff not realizing, like, why do I feel this way? Or why can't I get ahead? Or why can't I find a good relationship? Why am I still not making money? Fair wages. Why do I give myself away? You could have a soul contract of a martyr. There's just so much to it. There's a lot of these soul contracts working on people. And so it does help to work with the guides. And I work with those kinds of Akashic record guides and the guides that help you plan your lifetime. So that's obviously helpful to have friends in high places, right?
Yes, indeed. And I'm having a little thought of, I remember being a little girl, and I really thought I was going to be a nun.
Well, you probably were.
and I felt, this real draw to know God on a very, very deep level. And, of course, here I am. I do healing work, and, I'm very spiritual. And, yeah, so it's interesting, to just have a different take on the things that we're drawn to and the situations that are drawn to us that might even have a lower vibration.
Totally. Yeah, because you were probably a nun in a previous life. So that's why you were drawn to it again.
And funny enough, I went to Catholic school. I call myself a recovering Catholic because as a little girl, I remember thinking, that just doesn't sound right to me. That doesn't make sense to me.
What, a recovering Catholic?
Well, like some of the dogma and the things that they were trying to have us believe. So who knows, why as a young child I would kind of squint my eyes and think, no, that just doesn't sound right. That the one story for me was if a baby didn't get baptized and it happened to die before it had that sacrament, it would be in purgatory. That soul would be
that doesn't make any sense.
And I remember thinking, and asking the nuns, and the nuns would get mad at me because I was questioning. I just thought God wouldn't do that to a baby.
No.
So it's just interesting stuff, hey, that we are so wise, and then we kind of get brainwashed by authority.
No, I don't want to. Catholicism brings us many gifts, so I don't want to.
Oh yeah, no, and that's why
I want to make it clear that I have nothing. I totally am an advocate for the Catholic Church.
Oh yes, and that
and it brings us many gifts, but I think there's like the spirit of the law and the letter of the law.
Mhm.
And
just to be clear about what my views are, I keep what I love about the teachings, and I just I just let go of the other stuff that doesn't feel true to me.
Yeah, and it's important to do that with any authority, any teaching.
Yes.
But that's probably a misinterpretation of the scriptures that the babies would go to purgatory. That just that's not my experience from working with Catholics. As a matter of fact, I've done some sessions with, there's tremendous amount of guilt when a woman chooses to abort a baby, for instance. Like I think it's something that I don't think it's without its emotional consequences for a lot of women. But those souls of those, this is controversial, so not everybody's going to, speaking of the Catholic Church, no,
I opened up a can of worms here.
You are not going to love me right now, but those souls have come forth and, made it clear that they were part of that decision, that at some times, a child will come in to a body and, they go in and out when you're pregnant. They come in and out. They're not like living inside of you at that point. They come in and out. They're in the spirit world still learning and preparing for their life, and then they come in the body to get to acquaint themselves with the body and with you, and then they go back to the spirit world. And then truly right before they're born, they really just attach to the soul attaches to the body permanently. Not permanently, for that, in that period of one lifetime, right? And then we go back again. So, but those spirits of those, what I call soul babies, a lot of times if I'm doing a reading for someone who has had that, I'll know because the spirit of the baby will come and help heal that woman from the guilt that they're carrying around. They're like, look, this was I came into your life to get you changing your life because, usually look, it kind of quick starts some kind of transformation if you're pregnant, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of times that soul didn't intend to be born. It just came to make that happen so the woman would make changes. Or sometimes the soul would come into the body and say, this isn't the right time, the right body, it doesn't feel right. Let's start again, maybe in another time or with a different set of people. Same thing with suicide. Those people aren't stuck in purgatory. They are in the sense that there's a period after you are, if you commit suicide, a lot of times you'll have trouble finding the light because you don't feel you deserve to be there. And there is a certain kind of, I don't want to say punishment that comes with it, but there kind of is because you go back and you have to deal with the ramifications of you not finishing your obligations that you agreed to, and how you were intertwined with other people's souls. You're still kind of connected, you can't really, you still have to finish that contractual obligation with the people here on Earth. So it feels like a purgatory because you can't fully move on until those lessons are learned anyway. So it's sort of like you're in between worlds until that happens, right? But it's not like you're people who commit suicide are suffering. So it's not a cruel universe that they're like, you need to burn in hell. It's not a cruel universe. It's like you get healing then. You get healing because you were obviously suffering. So this damnation, by the way, I am not an advocate of suicide. I'm not saying that to make it an easy out, right? But I'm saying like this idea, but we've all known people who've committed suicide. I think all of us kind of know of one. And those people aren't like damned. You come back again. Actually, my mentor, she had a client who was a ghost in one lifetime. He was earthbound for a few centuries.
Wow.
Before he found the light and came back again. So in this lifetime, he was almost like the Walking Dead still. He was having trouble finding that light, right?
Yeah.
But he still, it's like the light will always want to find you and help you. It's just you have to. It's like it's not a punitive universe. It doesn't work like that. It's you if you need healing, the healing's available to you. It's just we don't always know that. We feel our own guilt and shame that kind of keeps that light from shining on us and in us. If that makes sense.
It totally does. Yeah, and I was sort of fantasizing, wouldn't it be a beautiful thing if we could give all of those souls a group healing and just send them love, and understanding, because we understand that their pain was so big that they couldn't stay here anymore, and wherever their souls are right now, sending them love so that they connect that love to the light that they're looking for.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of healers are doing that. I think, a lot of us meditate on, some people actively, I'm not, that's not my area of expertise, sending stuck souls back to the light. It's something I'm actually learning at some point, but a lot of people,
it's got to be your forte, right?
Right, yeah, you don't want to sort of, hi, I'll do brain surgery on you.
Yeah.
I just want to wing this right now. But a lot of people do it, but just even meditating and bringing light into the planet, and you doing your own healing helps everybody. So every time you bring, they say that, I'm an environmentalist, and I used to be like an angry environmentalist, and then I realized, I'm just contributing to the pollution of the planet, adding more anger to it, right? So now, you focus on healing and positivity and bringing light and seeing the world healed, and that actually has more energy, and that helps. So every time we heal ourselves, we're cleaning up the pollution of the planet and the universe, and every time, you send an act of prayer to do that and bring light, you're healing. So all souls, earthbound or otherwise, you're sending healing that way. Intuitively, my guides are telling me to talk a bit about guilt, because guilt is something I think we all have, subtly or very consciously carrying with us. And your life purpose is to be happy. And a lot of people have guilt for, so many things, and really it doesn't serve anybody. Our obligation to heal the world and to heal the planet here, to live your purpose, is to truly find joy. So a lot of people feel guilty thinking, or panic thinking, I'm not living my purpose, I'm wasting my life. And they really try to look at this as a career choice, like maybe I need to do something career-wise. I'm not doing enough with my career to fulfill my purpose, and they feel kind of guilt around it. Or some people, if they're happy, feel guilty that other people aren't happy, or have what they have, or if they're not being a martyr, sometimes they feel guilty. So even though this may be tangential to what we're talking about, it's just what my guides told me is maybe very important that people know right now, is to if you're going to clear one karmic pattern, right, that you can be conscious of right now, is to be aware of where you're feeling guilty in your life. Like, oh, I'm feeling guilty because I'm not living closer to my family, but I like it here better. Or I'm feeling guilty because, oh, look, why should I have this opportunity when somebody else doesn't? Or I feel guilty because I'm working this job, or I haven't made enough money, or whatever, and I feel guilty that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. All these things are kind of an illusion. You are just meant to be happy. And when you are happy, you are actually helping other people. You are raising the vibration of the planet. So, like you feel guilty because you're not living right next door to your aging parents or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's better for both of you to just live your life and be happy, and they can feed off of that joyful energy. Mm-hmm. Or if you have more, you can share more with others. So by you feeling guilty that you have something that other people don't, it's like get as prosperous and successful as you can so that you can help others. But don't feel guilty that you're not there yet, because maybe you're just working out some karma about that and you're learning your lessons. So really pay attention to your energy and pay attention to how you feel. And if you're feeling guilty, it's usually because you're feeling joyful and there's some past life programming that's telling you that it's wrong to be that way. Mm-hmm. So that's a really great way to heal some soul contracts, because that's a good indicator.
Mm-hmm. And it's an elusive and palpable energy at the same time.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's really palpable, and I think we all live with it at some point. I don't know anyone who doesn't have guilt. Oh, I'm not doing enough. That's a big one. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I should be working right now. Like when people are like, you're enjoying yourself, like doing like what seems like nothing. Oh, you feel guilty. Oh, I have so much to do. I should be doing it. Oh boy. Why are you guilty for sitting and enjoying your life? Why are you working so hard anyway? So that you can enjoy your life. It's like, why are you feeling guilty for doing nothing? I feel, because life is so precious, and we know we're here for a reason. Like we all seem to feel guilty if we're not being what we think is productive 24/7.
It's like hurry up and relax.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I thank you so much for that, because I'm just sitting here fantasizing, how often do I feel guilty that I don't even know about it? And if I know about it and be conscious of it, I can let go of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have a lot driving us that we're not aware of.
Oh, wow.
So that's the biggest thing I'd like to leave people with, and that this idea that you can create your reality is absolutely true, but you don't need to strain. Just do what's joyful to you, and really the universe takes care of the rest. So you have to act on what's joyful for you.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you had mentioned to me that you want me to talk about my gift that I'm sharing with people, not just my intuitive gifts, but my actual physical gift that I'm our listeners. I do have a free numerology ebook that I love to share with people to help you know what your life path is, like your life purpose can be revealed through that life path. And when I say life purpose, I mean the lessons you're meant to learn and the way you manage your energy in the world, the way you express yourself. So you can really learn that really beautifully through numerology. And so in this ebook I have, it talks about house numbers and your life path number, compatibility numbers, your personal cycles, and I also have affirmations that you can do to clear some of these cycles, and these affirmations are geared toward your life path number. So if you have a certain life path number, there's certain subconscious patterns you most likely have. And so in this ebook, it talks about how to help clear that as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in that ebook. I get thousands of people telling me how much it's helped them, and it's absolutely free for you. So that's what I'm sharing with everybody.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Kari. That's really generous of you.
I'm so excited to share this.
Healing the world through your ebook.
Yeah, there's a lot in the yeah. So numerology is a very empowering tool to help you know what is right for you and what's not right for you. It's just so simple and it's so profound. So that's my gift for everybody.
Well, thank you.
Well, it's called the Numerology Guide to a Happy Life because I really do think it's a blueprint for happiness, and it's just a simple tool that the universe has given us. We're lucky to have it. Our life is really defined by numbers. That's another thing we're not always realizing, but there's numbers everywhere in our life. Like you're born, you get a social security or a social insurance number, your license plate number, your geographical location is a number, longitude and latitude. You know, we're pretty much, our life is numbers. That defines us and guides us. So it's if you know how to read the numbers, that's another thing I talk about in the book. It's like number patterns, like 1111 or 333. When you see these, it helps you understand what they mean because that's the way that your guides talk to you.
Right. Oh, I'm excited to read about that because that happens to me a lot. Where I'll just look at the clock or it's all lined up. And, it's a big one. It's a big one, and there's messages encoded in that for us. So, what might a typical message be? Like, say, 1:11 in the afternoon. You look up and you see the clock. I mean, what would it like? Well, 11:11 is the most common thing that people know, and that make a wish because if you look at those 11s, everything's all lined up. It's like a really quickening energy between you and the universe. So that's why they say, watch your thoughts, because it's kind of like an instant manifestation. You're receiving downloads during that time, and you're also in alignment. So that's the universe's way of saying, hey, everything's lined up. You're in alignment. Pay attention to your inspiration and your intuitions and act on them. Well, that's a nice thing to know. For sure. There's a lot of messages. So, yeah, and I talk about them all in the book, like each number and the combinations and how to interpret that. Oh, great. Kari, we've got 7 minutes left. And do you have a past life story that you wanted to share? Well, I have a lot that I encounter by being with my clients, and there's sometimes that my jaw drops and I think, oh, wow. Like when you understand the past life and how it's influencing you and realize how there's such a continuity, it's almost like so obvious once you see it in retrospect. And then when you know about these things, it actually helps you heal them. So just this past week, gosh, there were so many this week. Well, so there was this one woman I was working with recently, and she was a widow. She actually had her soulmate love that she was with, and they had a beautiful life together. And he just suddenly died, shockingly. And he wasn't sick, and they were truly a love match. And so she was desperate when she came to me, and she'd been to mediums, and they'd communicated with her husband, and she still found no relief. And finally she came to me to understand, what this was about. And clear as day, I saw this past life where she was a widow, a young widow in World War II, and her husband had died
they were like 20 or so in this past life, and her husband died in World War II in a plane crash. And in that incarnation, she never moved on. It may have been World War II, because she died young in that life, like of a broken heart. But she never moved on, and she never remarried. It was kind of like she said, "Well, I'm going to, he was my love and my only love, and I'm not going to move on." So they had a contract in this life that he was going to leave her relatively early in this life. And what happened when I told her that, she couldn't believe it. She was gobsmacked because she said he was obsessed with World War II planes. Mm. He had all these books about them, but he was never in the military, and he wasn't from a military family. He was an insurance broker. But he was obsessed with that era. So they had a soul contract in this life for her to move on and not to feel guilty for,
wow.
Yeah. So it was actually part of their pre-birth agreement that he would pass while she was relatively young, so she would learn how to recover this time. And there's just other stories where you think, gosh, I wouldn't realize that would be affecting that. Like, for instance, I had one client who has had all these environmental allergies, and she also kept having trouble finding a home that didn't have mold and a horrible landlord. Like, both of these things. Like, every time she'd think she'd found a home, she'd get sick, and the landlord would be just totally unfair to her and, like, sue her and take her money. Like, it was like all these crazy things. So when we look back in her past life, she was a Native American who, basically the white people came and took her home and sent her on the Trail of Tears, where she never found, in that life, was a man in that past life, and he never found a home and got sick because of his lack of, because of that Trail of Tears, and got sick and died. So in this lifetime, she was still carrying that energy of everybody being unfair to her, displacing her, and not having a place to live where she can be comfortable and healthy. So when we worked with the past life, she finally found a home that she didn't get sick in and she can live in and be safe.
Wow.
But it just didn't, and she said that was amazing because she's not Native American, but she used to buy and sell Native American art and artifacts. And she was like totally opposed to gentrification. Like she couldn't stand it. So it's interesting, like how you still carry these things. You'd never put the two together until you see it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But and so we went back and we were healing with her to rewrite that past life where she did find a home and she could trust people. So she wasn't carrying that energy anymore, not, attracting that situation. Mm. And that's when she was able to make the changes.
Wow. It makes so much sense.
When you see it in retrospect, but like when you're right there, you're like, wow, why is this happening? But then it makes so much sense when you know the past life that's connected to it.
Uh-huh. And you get the learning.
And then you can heal. Once you heal that, you can go back and rewrite your past life. You can and find a happier ending so that you reconnect with a different energy.
And do you have, for our listeners on the call, do you do private sessions with people where you do past lives specifically?
Well, if it comes up, it's only pertinent. We heal the patterns regardless. Mm-hmm. And mostly these days, I'm doing more group healings and teaching because I can help more people that way. Mm-hmm. So I have lots of stuff on my website, courses and programs you can do to help you with the prayers and the clearing and knowing what's going on. So that's what I'm focusing on a lot these days. And I have my monthly soul salon where we do energy clearing on different things. because I can help more people that way.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that we got to talk about your group work so that our listeners can go and have a look at your website and see what resonates with them and what they can, I love that you're giving people the power to heal themselves, and I truly believe that all healing is self-healing.
I do believe that. I mean, although I must say it's helpful if you bring in your guides and your angels, because they're, why not, right?
Yes.
So when you work with them, and that's one of the things I guide people to, is to help connect with your guides to assist you with the healing. If you have friends in high places, right? That's what I always say. Like, why not utilize them? So, that's something I guide people to, and every month my guides tell me what's in our collective consciousness that needs to be culled at that time.
Oh, great.
At least for the people on the call. I mean, there's lots in our collective consciousness that needs to be healed. But people on the call, it's like that's. And I work with the numerology and what the trend is of the time, and the astrology to see what's coming up in our consciousness as well. So, my guides are amazing. All our guides, they're so amazing. And when you really learn to connect with them, it's just incredible.
So thank you so much for today. And
you are so welcome.
All your work that you do for us.
You're welcome, and thank you so much. And whoever's listening, thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself.
Kari, I'm going to say goodbye for now, and thanks again.
Bye for now. Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Bye for now. Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Bye for now. Lots of love.
Lots of love.